Locals petitioned the arrest of ward councillors in relation to Kumalu River attack. Government rolls out National Identity Project in Southern Highlands. And a policy on water, sanitation and hygiene launched today.
This is National MTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
Good evening and welcome to Wednesday's news. The people of Zenek have petitioned authorities for the arrest of 8 suspects wanted for the assault of a man and rape of a woman during attempts to cross the flooded Kumalu River last week Monday. The petition was handed to Bulolo MP Sam Basil in Mumeng yesterday, asking for the arrest of ward councillors from the village of the accused until the suspects are handed over. It's understood that since the petition was handed over, ward councillors from 4 communities have been arrested.
This was the scene in Mumeng yesterday when locals petitioned Bulolo authorities, including local MP Sam Basil, for the arrest of 8 suspects wanted for the assault of a man and the rape of a woman while they were attempting to cross the flooded Kumalu River on the 16th of this month. Yesterday, local leaders backed by the community in Zenek called on the district administration for support.
This issue and work on come through. Na plantiman kisim bikla bagala. It's because of olmangi oloko using this la wala paya wala senan.
Mumeng LLG President Okam Paton explained that law and order issues in the area have increased since 2002 because of homebrew and marijuana consumption. Local leaders in Mumeng have demanded action for the Kumalu incident, where both hands of a man was chopped and a woman was raped. They wanted the community leaders of the areas where the 8 suspects are from to be arrested and only released when the 8 are handed over to police.
Now police estimo leader. Now popular leader now and police estimem long I belong and I belong.
Bulolo MP Sam Basil supported the arrest of 4 ward councillors. Basil told people gathered that leaders will be held responsible for the actions of their people. Bethany Harriman, National MTV News, Ley.
Post PNG is now the official logistics provider of the National Statistics Office. Today, they signed the NID service agreement to facilitate the movement of the National Identity Project equipment throughout the country. NSO has until the end of this year to roll out the project.
Post PNG and National Statistics Office have teamed up to carry the state's NID project right across the country. The signing today will see NID equipment transported to all provincial towns in PNG before NID registrations can occur in each electorate. The partnership will see over 8 million birth certificates sent out from Port Moresby to use during the identity registration rollout.
Post PNG delivers these papers there, we are there, we pick it up and people are there to have access to them. So for me, it's a service that is already here.
The agreement is a result of a long dialogue between both parties. Last week, mobile kits were successfully delivered to Southern Highlands for the rollout of the program. Manus, New Island, Central and Milne Bay are the next provinces which will take on the NID program in March.
By any means strangers, Post PNG is a member of a steering committee, comprised of intergovernmental key stakeholders from both the private and public sector, and oversee the implementation of one of the country's key impact projects, NID.
The partnership is based on a service agreement. This means that once the equipment is delivered, bills will be raised to the Statistics Office so appropriate payments can be made. Vasinata Yama, National MTV News.
On a similar note, people in Southern Highlands Province have been urged to register with the National Identity Project rolled out by the government. This call was made by National Statistician Rocco Koloma during the opening of the first NID Register Office in MENDI on Monday. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill was there to commission the building.
The Papua New Guinea National Identity Project is a major government plan to collect details of people around the country. Once completed, it will provide government with accurate statistics and make delivery of government services easier for people in communities. But first and foremost, people are urged to register for a formal identification card to be processed. With that, the first NID registry office was opened in MENDI, Southern Highlands province by Prime Minister Peter O'Neill and National Planning Minister Charles Abel.
Start going inside the office here, start law register. Because suppose you wait him, one time the government comes out and looks at you, okay, man, this number is start to place.
The NID project is a National Executive Council decision number 97/2013. The project is said to help the government allocate right funding for schools, allocate a working national budget, and design development policies.
So can think of them desla emblo one month so emblo yumi ogata. So please you ogata must register.
Kisim ID, voting, free education, disability pension, lapun pension blo yupla too. This la ID ba halvin yumi location this la.
Southern Highlands Governor William Powie erased questions of the 666 fear and reminded people that technology is a tool for people to adapt and change with the world.
National identity program from this country and important people from Southern Highlands. Take him leadership, take him responsibility to register him yet.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill was the first to register. 150 NID officers will be stationed in Yalibu Pangia as the first district to roll out the project, with a similar approach to take place in other provinces. Jack Lapave Jr., National MTV News.
National Planning and Monitoring Minister Charles Abel launched the National Water, Sanitation and Hygiene Policy 2015 to 2030 today in Port Moresby. This policy focuses on service delivery of good drinking water, sanitation and the long-term hygiene or behaviour that is able to bring about change to Papua New Guineans. MTV's Eric Harupma has more on this report.
Present at the National Water, Sanitation and Hygiene WAS policy launching this morning were National Planning and Monitoring Minister Charles Abel, government partners like the L Department, Water PNG, IPBC and developing agencies like the World Bank and European Union. The WAS policy is in line with the Vision 2050, PNG's Sustainable Development Plan and our country's national goals and directive principles.
A good life, a healthy life is simply impossible without access to clean running water. And those of us who live in urban areas have the luxury of living in a town or a city, take it for granted somewhat, that we're able to flush a toilet or have a hot shower or have a shower at all, have water running out of tap. And it's only when you spend some time in the village that you realise you've got to walk down to a river, or you've got to carry water back to the house, or you're drinking salty water from a well, and so on.
Policies like WAS, National Population and National ID is an integral part of bringing human development to the fore and recognizing the rights of every PNG citizen. A task force was established to initiate this policy, including government agencies like L Department, Water PNG, DNPM, IPBC and Edaranu, with support from other developing agencies to find mechanisms to coordinate this policy.
Of course, through all these policies, and the Planning Act is to bring some clarity, some context to this framework and this space that we're talking about, that is Papua New Guinea, and how we can all coordinate ourselves better in delivering these basic and fundamental services right down to the village level.
In terms of executing this WAS policy, he viewed this important to facilitate in some mandated intervention down at the very service delivery points. While PNG falls short of meeting universal development goals, its rating amongst 58 tier countries in the world. PNG is 40% far below most of the Asia-Pacific countries in terms of good water and sanitation. This policy is an important building block for the future of PNG to coordinate a systematic approach to addressing water, sanitation and hygiene.
That has just been adopted and that has been presented now here with us is a major building block, it's a major stepping stone in getting there, in moving from the wish of coordinating our activities between donor partners, government itself and districts.
180 million kina has been funded by the European Union to implement the WAS policy right to the village level, while stakeholders will be invited to formulate an action plan. Eric Aruma, National MTV News.
Chairman of PNG Rehabilitation Centre, Brown Kapi, described the Disability Policy and UN Convention on the Rights of People Living with Disability as window dressing to attract funding. Kapi claimed the Department of Youth, Religion and Community Development has been silent on issues affecting people living with disability for almost 3 years.
Kapi said despite the existing policy, he claimed there was no work done to prove the policy was truly implemented. He said such policies are government's guidelines and the ministries responsible must look at implementing the appropriate policies. In a news release sent to MTV, Kapi wanted clarification on partners working on this policy and what has been achieved to date. With Anna Solomon's recent appointment as the Secretary for Youth, Religion and Community Development, Kapi wants to see more issues affecting people living with disabilities addressed openly. Kapi said since the signing of the UN Convention, there is still lack of awareness by the government on issues affecting people with special needs. Tekla Gunga, National MTV News.
Community Development Minister Jalala Gore says about 1% of children in PNG are fending for themselves on the streets. She does not provide figures but says this percentage of children is also included in the revived Lukautim Pikinini Act and the new policy which will be tabled in Parliament's next sitting. MTV's Quinton Alomp reports.
The number of school-age children fending for survival on the streets of Port Moresby and other provincial centres is slowly increasing. Every day, children are selling items and earning money for their survival. Minister responsible, Delilah Gore, says these children, mainly orphans, make up 1% of all children in Papua New Guinea.
And most children who have parents, but they place them there to fend for themselves.
She says with the new Lukautim Pikinini Act, these children will be taken care of by welfare officers in safe homes and their parents who deliberately left them to fend for themselves will be held accountable.
This law is just helping these children to put them at the right place so they are cared for and looked after, they are fed and they are educated.
The Catholic Church is also vocal on negligence by parents leaving their children to find food and shelter on streets. The Church says this is unacceptable and they have moved a step ahead by documenting the child protection policy for Catholic congregations in PNG and Solomon Islands. The policy was launched yesterday.
It's child abuse when you use a child to go sit on the street, beg for money, and then they bring money home. And the child does not get the money, but whoever the person has set up the child takes the money, or even for disabled children.
The 1% of street children in PNG also contribute to the estimated 600,000 school-age children who are not attending schools. The Asian Development Bank Outlook 2014 pointed out that the economic boom from PNG's extractive industries has widened the gap between the rich and poor, thus adding to the street children scenario. The United Nations Child Protection Strategy spells out children's rights against all forms of abuses, violence and exploitation. It all comes back to the government, parents and guardians to make sure children's rights are protected. Should the Lukautim Pikinini Act be tabled in Parliament next session, Minister Gore says PNG parents may expect a safe, wise and healthy future for the children. Quinten Alomp, National MTV News.
We'll bring you more news around the country, including Sarah Alpong's report on the protection of indigenous languages. Stay with us. Good to have you back with the news. A lot of attention and awareness needs to be done to protect more of our indigenous languages from becoming extinct. Speaking to MTV News today, social language expert Dr. Kilala Devete shares her concerns about the status of PNG's indigenous languages.
Dr. Devete is a new member of the National Research Institute. For 12 years, she taught at the University of PNG in the Linguistics Department. She shares similar views with her colleagues at the university on the influence of Western culture threatening the survival of PNG languages. In terms of numbers, the very basic still needs to be done.
Most languages in Papua New Guinea have not been documented. And that is why some of these small languages have died without being written about. Their grammars were never written.
She offers more statistics which add to the worrying picture given by her colleagues at the university.
About 40 that have less than 100 speakers left.
Her colleagues say that 400 languages have less than 2,000 speakers. Dr. Devete says the vernacular system and the outcome-based education was an attempt by the government to retain our languages.
One very, very good strategy to preserve Papua New Guinea languages is to include the education system, which we did. But it was the implementation part of it that did not work.
Dr. Devete says more awareness needs to begin at home. I did a quick survey of 20 people who work here at MTV on the number of PNG languages that they know and can speak. Almost all who come from parents from different language backgrounds say that they know very little of it or know nothing at all. For those who do know the language, it's usually the mother's language that they are familiar with.
Thousands of Papua New Guinean children today use Tokpisin as their mother tongue or L1, first language. And that is one of the problems today.
Sarah Aupong, National MTV News.
Research work on the impact of different education systems do not capture children's voices. Dr. Kilala Devete, a social language expert, says children are the ones who will be benefiting from these systems and their feedback on these issues need to be captured and heard.
There are always assumptions being made by researchers and people who are writing about issues. But what I found was it is very, very important to ask the children what their views are on the languages that they speak. And it was very, very interesting what I found. So children love their languages. They want to speak their language and they speak their language.
The Linguistic Society of PNG will be hosting its 39th annual conference in Port Moresby this year. This conference will be held in June, just before the Pacific Games. Last year, the conference was held in Madang with the theme Celebrating Tokpisin and Tokples. Chairperson for LSPNG, Dr. Kilala Devete, says this year's conference will aim to raise more public awareness on the fact that a lot of PNG languages are dying. Goroka Secondary School in Eastern Highlands Province is now facing shortages of classrooms and teaching materials due to the increase in enrollments this year. More than 900 grade 9 students were selected, forcing the administration to look for classrooms to accommodate the intakes. Meanwhile, the Eastern Highlands Provincial Government says they are addressing the problem with more funding set aside to build classrooms. MTV's Sylvester Gawi has more on this report.
Just like any other secondary schools in Papua New Guinea, the Goroka Secondary School is seeing high student enrollments and classroom shortage. The number of students per classroom has now increased to more than 80. School Principal John Onka is blaming the National Department of Education for the delay in funding for school infrastructures and teaching materials. He says with this funding delay, the school has relied heavily on the little money it collects from project fees to pay for teaching materials and textbooks.
Before, we had 40 in a class, 38 in a class. The maximum we went to was up to 46 in one classroom. Today, as I speak to you, I have 84 in one class.
Goroka Secondary is one of the few high schools in Goroka town that enrolls students from all over the Eastern Highlands province. The grade 9 enrollments in recent years have been increasing. This year, it enrolled 980 students, streamed into 11 classes. This has seen tables and desks being removed from classrooms to provide adequate space for the growing number of students.
Obviously, it's showing us that there is no planning. The government's decision must come with clear guidelines as to who should be in the classroom, what grades we are looking at, and then we look at the infrastructure that is in the schools. Do we have enough classrooms? Do we have enough teachers?
The Eastern Highlands Provincial Government, through the Office of the Governor Julius Soso, is also assisting in building a classroom to alleviate the problem. Governor Soso says a office has been notified of the problems faced by schools in the Eastern Highlands Province. She says the tuition-free policy has put a lot of burden on provincial governments in dealing with classroom shortages.
So like in classroom or like in space, by me support him all, by me help him all.
The governor also added that funds for tertiary students from Eastern Highlands for this year would be diverted into building infrastructures in schools. Sylvester Gawi, National MTV News, Goroka.
The MENDI Nursing College is in dire need of improvements to its facility to cater for the increasing enrollment. College Principal Lucy Langer says the institution is critical in producing health workers, but little attention has been given by authorities.
MENDI Nursing College is an institution with many problems. Empty bookshelves in the college library says a lot about the limited resources students use to help in the studies. But not just that, the problems also extend to messing and student accommodation.
Problems like textbooks, teaching materials, equipments. Because of the clothes, we didn't have those things in place.
Sister Lenga has been the head of the college for almost 20 years now. She says the struggle she faces in keeping the institution running is immense as enrollment increases every year.
We want to see the library equipped with computers, textbooks that students can use at the same time. When the increased number of students, we would like to see increased number of teaching staff and clinicians.
The college witnessed its second batch of graduation recently, with 40 students graduating with a diploma in primary nursing. Talks to amalgamate with UPNG School of Medical Health and Science are in progress, but it could take time.
It's a bit of a long process, but we're on the way. We hope that that process will be finalised during this year.
The college is one of the 2 higher learning institutions in Southern Highlands province. It opened its doors for enrollment in 1983. PNG has only 16,000 nurses serving in the country. Sister Lenga says nursing institutions must be prioritized by the government through funding and building of facilities to produce the expected total of 60,000 nurses in the country. Jack Lapawe Jr., National MTV News.
The National Executive Council has approved the revised Memorandum of Agreement on the Tolokuma gold mine. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill said the MOA will be reviewed every 5 years. He said Cabinet also deliberated on the outstanding national government commitment of constructing the Tolokuma Highway. The revised MOA relating to the Tolokuma gold mine was signed in 2007 between the state and other stakeholders, including the landowners. The current MOA review began in October 2012 and was completed in December 2013. Cabinet also approved for projects to be funded under various national government programs over the lifespan of the project. Well, Lae City is known as the industrial hub of the country. This, however, hasn't had much impact on the level of service delivery to the majority of Morobe province. The government has acknowledged this with plans to build a national highway from Lae to Finschhafen.
Intense discussions have been held here in Kokopo, East New Britain province for the last 4 days. Technical experts and other professionals have been planning at this pre-feasibility study workshop before a presentation to the Tutumang leaders in Lae next week.
The government has major development plans for the Morobe province, beginning with the Lae to Finschhafen Highway and Economic Corridor. Alina Limited, a local company from East New Britain, recently won a bid to do feasibility studies.
The company was registered in 2006. That was the time when we started designing the project. In 2006, after all endorsement, bottom-up planning from the landowners, the provincial government, the national government, and then it went out for tendering. And then we won the tender. And we were awarded the state contract.
Part of the feasibility program is to run a series of workshops to carry out awareness on the project with landowners and stakeholders. It's also a chance to gather their views on the project as well. A launch to open the series of workshops was witnessed over the weekend in Kokopo.
That's purposely for a brainstorming for all engineers in all our different disciplines with the all total impact program. There are our boys in the roads and bridges, public utilities, satellite towns, airstrips, jetties, and the economic corridor.
The launch was followed by a commissioning service on Sunday. Down to business, On Monday, the company's technical team, including its surveyors, engineers and geologists, made presentations on the scope of work expected and what needs to be done. The Leyte Finschhafen Highway and Economic Corridor is a total impact project. There at the pre-feasibility workshop listening to the presentations was leader of government business in the Morobe provincial government, Charlie Foike. Mr. Foike acknowledged that the project would have a huge impact on the province, where the lack of accessibility to services is a real problem for the people of Morobe province. The development company Alina will be in Ley next week to meet with the Morobe provincial leaders.
We'll do a presentation to the provincial government and the landowners in Morobe before we go out to the field.
Alina is also expected to present its preliminary report to the government in March.
Should this Leyte Finschhafen Highway and Economic Corridor prove successful, it is estimated that 250,000 people will benefit. Delhi Bagu, National MTV News, Kokopo.
An agreement for a program between Unitech and a university in India for rice research will ensure that development happens in the country's rice industry. The program aims to improve teaching, training of young scientists and engineers on Unitech's facility and at India's Tamil Nadu Agricultural University. Unitech Vice-Chancellor Dr. Albert Schramm says the agreement will pave the way for Indian scholarships and opportunities for PNG students to take part in exchange programs to India.
An agreement was signed yesterday between the PNG University of Technology in Leh and Tamil Nadu Agricultural University of India for the cultivation and production of rice in the country.
For this country, Papua New Guinea, we have number of varieties which can be directly passed on to this government. And
visiting scientists from the Indian Tamil Nadu Agricultural University, together with the Indian High Commissioner to PNG, Sri Madhav Shadra, were at Unitech this week to formalize the agreement. This partnership will be developed through Unitech's research projects and programs related to agriculture and engineering technology.
In the past years, we have developed a very successful collaboration with NARI and Trukai Rice in the field of rice production. And today we invite the fourth cornerstone of this square now.
One of the aims of the rice research program is to minimize the costs incurred from the importation of rice into the country. Indian High Commissioner Sri Madhav Shadra says the strong relationship between India and Papua New Guinea has paved the way for this program to happen.
I've been trying to promote the deputation of professors, senior academia to various institutions in PNG.
This partnership program expects to see 5 Unitech staff and students sent to India each year on student exchange programs. The agreement will allow Unitech to receive 3 Indian lecturers per year under a deputation scheme that involves an Indian partner university faculty member to teach at Unitech. Colin Barilai, National MTV News, Leh.
And now we check out the finance news. The Kina closed unchanged at $0.3785 in the interbank market, and at Bank South Pacific, your Kina was fetching $0.371 $0.4686 Australian dollars, €0.3338 and 43.81 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, cocoa and coffee closed the day higher, copper closed lower, while palm oil and copper closed higher and crude oil closed the day lower. And lastly, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 93 points higher, the ASX closed at 17 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 18 points higher. And still to come on National MTV News tonight, restoration work to commence on the old Leh Yacht Club and plans underway to relocate Boram Hospital in Wewak. Stay with us for the details. Welcome back to National MTV News. The National Fisheries Authority will commence restoration of the waterfront at the old Lay Yacht Club. This follows a National Executive Council decision last year directing the NFA to rehabilitate the waterfront area. The exact site lies within the old Yacht Club facility, which is owned by the National Fisheries Authority. NFA, in a statement, said the whole intention is to restore the waterfront area to its previous status to allow fishing and passenger vessels to lay easy access. This process will start with clearing up the waterfront to allow easy access into the wharf area. Surveys have been carried out by NFA officers in consultation with the Morobe Provincial Administration. The travelling public in TARI, Hela Province, are concerned that safety measures at TARI Airport are being compromised. They want Curtin Brothers to explain why they have built a crushing plant at the end of the airport's runway and whether National Airports Corporation will take corrective measures to deal with this safety concern.
The travelling public has viewed the laydown and stockpile yard operated by Curtin Brothers within the perimeters of the airport as a safety hazard. It is understood that Curtin Brothers were contracted to upgrade the airport. However, this never eventuated, with the company operating as usual to date. The people of Hela are now questioning when work will commence on the airport and whether 30 million kina allocated to Curtin Brothers has gone to. This funding was from ExxonMobil to the Hela provincial government, which they paid to Curtin Brothers. Despite regular flights into TARI, it still leaves much to be desired given the substantial investment by ExxonMobil for the airport upgrade. The people want the National Airport Corporation to intervene to resolve this safety issue and for the Hela provincial government to come clear on the use of the funds. Attempts to contact Curtin Brothers Project Managing Director in TARI, John Redford, was unsuccessful. Tekla Gunga, National MTV News.
After almost 40 years of neglect, Wewak's Boram General Hospital will be upgraded and then relocated. Wewak's biggest hospital will be relocated to Wirui in Wewak Town. Health Minister Michael Malabag made the announcement on Monday this week after visiting the crumbling state of the hospital's infrastructure.
About 40 hectares of these 200 hectares of land owned by the Catholic Archdiocese of Wewak at Wirui will be allocated to the relocation of Boram General Hospital. It's still not clear how much the relocation will cost, but it is expected to be one of the biggest impact projects in the East Sepik province. On Monday, the Health Minister, Michael Malabag, the Yanguru Sausia MP, Richard Maru, and the hospital board met with the Catholic Archbishop and agreed to allocate land for the relocation of Wewak's biggest hospital.
So now when I hear that the current government is interested to do so, we are willing to cooperate. And as you mentioned, we have land which I believe can be used for that purpose.
Boram General Hospital is a hospital in need. At the main outpatient area, patients are crowding almost every day to get medical attentions. On the walls are evidence of 4 decades of neglect. Most of its medical equipment are outdated but are still being used. While the relocation is a plan in progress, the hospital will be rehabilitated while it waits for the relocation to happen, the health minister says.
So once the money comes, in the meantime, just to rehabilitate the hospital, to make sure that it's in a working condition.
We've wasted 3 years already. So now, Lord, this is the time. People work with the hospital board and my office directly and the minister to fast track not only the current maintenance program, but people must submit the submission of new housing by June.
After almost 40 years, and Boram Hospital is slowly getting the recognitions it never got before. The upgrade and the relocation plan comes after Leis Engau Hospital controversy between the government and the hospital over its rundown state. Now, their story is no different to any other provincial hospitals all over the country. One such is the Modilon General Hospital in Medang and Rabaul's Nonga Base Hospital that also needs major upgrade. Boram isn't broke. It gets funding from the national government as well as other sources. But over the years, poor management within the hospital had driven Boram to a stage where its funds were depleted and the hospital was left to deteriorate slowly. Edwin Fidelis, National MTV News, Wewak.
Local business women have seen the upcoming Pacific Games as an opportunity to reach out to the Pacific. PNG Women in Business will be hosting an SME Women's Expo to showcase PNG women during the Games. As a lead up to that mini expo will be held from the 20th to the 23rd of March in Port Moresby. Women in Business Director Janet Sape made the announcement today.
With just a few months before the 2015 Pacific Games, local women in both the formal and informal businesses want to benefit from the Games by selling their products and ideas to the rest of the Pacific. A mini expo in March will prepare women for the bigger one, which will be held from the 1st to the 15th of July. This is also aimed at promoting small to medium businesses owned and operated by Papua New Guinean women. Both expos will be staged at the Constitutional Park. Consultations between the PNG Women in Business, the National Capital District Commission, and the National Museum and Art Gallery are continuing to finalize fees and security arrangements. Ms. Sape, while thanking the government for the SME legislation that is soon to be tabled, requested for government recognition on SME women in the country.
Making a very good legislation into Parliament to protect Papua New Guineans. I think for too long our Papua New Guineans have been bystanders. See that that policy is fully implemented. We want to work with them to assist our Papua New Guineans, train them to become business people, because they've come here, made money. We want them to put that back into training and assisting people like here we're talking about. We're looking for business opportunity.
She asked the Games Committee to consider PNG SME women during the Pacific Games. Reformed youths in NCD are also seeking an opportunity to provide security during the expo.
As far as Mosby on the west area, I'll call him Corres Magat, Namibla change now, so Mosem. We invite them some visitors or some place you already you can come now. And now kind place is a place where women in business kiss him, bring him some market, maybe use him to thank you, participate in the mama, look at the mabla.
Promoting the SME sector is one of this government's major policies, and the government is expected to table a draft legislation on SME in the May session. Part of this legislation will have a list of reserved businesses for Papua New Guineans. Michelle Amba, National MTV News.
And National MTV News continues with True Guy Sports coming up next, and I'll have all the details after the break.
True Guy Sports.
Welcome to True Guy Sports. Caritas Secondary School in the National Capital District will facilitate 3 different sporting codes during the Pacific Games. The school gym, that's currently under construction and almost reaching its final stage of completion, will play host to bodybuilding, weightlifting and taekwondo during the Pacific Games. Director for Caritas Secondary, Sister Florentina, said having the 2015 Pacific Games take place in the school's vicinity will be significant and something the students will remember for years to come.
Caritas Technical Secondary School is preparing and working hard together with parents, teachers and students to have the gym completed in time for 2015 Games. The school will play host to sports of bodybuilding, taekwondo and weightlifting. Director for Caritas Technical Secondary School, Sister Florentina, is adamant the venue will be delivered in time and has thanked both the PNG and the Korean government for their support through public-private partnership in making the program a success. She thanked the Korean government, students and parents for their support. The aim of the school is to encourage girls to see the sport, especially taekwondo, as a sport for girls, as well as 3 national taekwondo fighters are students at the school and will be part of the Pacific Games. With lots of criticisms from the parliament members and the general public, Minister for Sports and National Events, Justin Kichenko, is adamant about delivering the best games the country will ever see and host. Godwin Aki, National MTV Sports.
Well, the issue on the security of athletes at the Pacific Games remains a concern for the visiting countries. In a report by Fiji Times, Pacific Games Council President Vidya Lakan confirmed that standard security services expected at a multi-sport event such as the Pacific Games, will be provided. The Games venues and Athletes Village, as always, will be one of the safest areas in Port Moresby. Police will manage the overall security of the 2015 Pacific Games. After visiting the Pacific Games venues yesterday, NCD Governor PARKOP says the National Capital District is banking on the Games to improve the status of Port Moresby as the capital city of Papua New Guinea. PARKOP says in his term as Governor, his goal is to make Port Moresby the ultimate destination for sports, business and tourism into the future.
As of the 4th of July, Port Moresby will play host to over 4,000 athletes and 300 international media personnel. The nation's capital will play a vital role in ensuring the host venue offers the best hospitality services available. From the security of our international guests to the catering and transportation operations, Port Moresby will be accountable. As Governor for NCD, PARKOP is banking on the Games to raise the current status of Port Moresby as Papua New Guinea's capital city.
As Governor for the capital city, my goal is to make Port Moresby PNG a destiny for the future.
While the Games will promote trade and investment, one of PARKOP's primary objectives is to elevate the city's portfolio for the tourism industry. PARKOP told the media at the Games venues tour yesterday with Prime Minister Peter O'Neill that all stakeholders involved were doing everything possible to ensure the successful delivery of the Games.
Minister, Prime Minister have done their part, giving the money to the national government. The PNG Olympic Committee are preparing our athletes. Everybody is doing their part to make the Games a success.
The current facilities and venues which have reached the final stages of construction will be an asset for Papua New Guinea. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill said while the focus now is on the Games, these facilities are expected to be the best in the region and will be used to play host to important events in the near future.
This particular village will be used by our students. We are going to educate our future leaders in these facilities here. And it's not going to be something that is going to be put to waste, like past Games where facilities were built and neglected for many, many years. But we are going to continue to utilize these facilities for the community and, of course, our citizens into the future.
Lorraine Genya, National MTV Sports.
Contractor for the Tairama Indoor and Aquatic Complex, Fletcher Morabe, has given assurance parking facilities will be available on both sides of the complex once completed. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill urged the media to report solely on facts and not to report on rumours after several reports in the media stated that Games venues will not be allocated space for parking. And Trukai Sports continues after these short messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. The Papua New Guinea Golf Association has received a boost from BSP towards developing the country's next generation of golfing champions. The program aims to build on the success of the 2014 season and assist aspiring young golfers to pursue their dreams. NTV's Elijah Levet has more.
The Junior Golf Development Program will now be rolled out, creating a pathway for young aspiring golfers. This will mold amateur golfers to a professional level and ensure a competitive and high environment is maintained. Last year, the PNG Golf Association conducted 15 coaching clinics in the New Guinea Islands and Momase region. According to PNG Golf Association representative Mark Stollard, they are looking to build on the success of the 2014 season and aiming for gold in the Pacific Games.
We are in our infancy stage of deploying that current national junior program, and it's closely mirrored on success that we founded here in Port Moresby. Firstly, it aims to attract a lot of junior golfers, kids like yourselves.
This week, BSP came on board to support the rollout of the program for the year. A presentation of 200,000 kina was made and will go toward conducting the program and purchasing specialized golfing equipment. Elijah Lavet, National MTV Sports.
And that's how we wrap up our Trukai Sports segment tonight. The weather details for the next 24 hours when we come back.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
A quick look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In southern region, Port Moresby, late evening showers with a shower or two in the morning. In Momase, overnight showers expected in Lae, evening and morning showers in Bunimore and Wewak. In the New Guinea Islands, thundery showers expected in all centres. And in the Highlands region, late evening showers, then morning fog. Now, before we go, our top stories again tonight. Locals petitioned the arrest of ward councillors in relation to the Kumalu River attack. Also, government rolls out the National Identity Project in Southern Highlands, and a policy on water, sanitation and hygiene launched today in Port Moresby. Well, that's been the news, sports and weather tonight. I'm Tokana Hasavi. As always, thanks heaps for your company. You take care and stay safe. Good night.